Belema refused to believe that Tekena had any intentions. Maybe he's just stressed, she told herself whenever she noticed his sudden mood swings. Maybe marriage is just different from courtship. At first, he was the loving husband she had always dreamed of. He showered her with affection, bought her gifts from the market, and even surprised her with her favorite seafood stew. One evening, as they sat outside their small compound, watching the sun set over the river, Belema leaned on his shoulder and whispered, "Tek, I've been thinking about nursing school. You know how much I love it. I want to start soon." Tekena stiffened, but forced a smile. Nursing school, he muttered. "You're always thinking about work and school. Shouldn't we focus on building our home first? Besides, who will take care of the house while you are in school?" Belema chuckled lightly. "Tek, I can balance it. You know I am hardworking." He sighed and kissed her forehead. "We'll talk about it later, okay? For now, just enjoy being my wife." Belema smiled, convinced that he only needed time. But time only revealed what she had refused to see. As the months passed, Tekena's affection faded. He became distant, irritable. Small things annoyed him. If her food wasn't ready on time, he would snap. If she asked about school again, he would sigh and walk away. "What's happening, Tekena?" she asked one evening after another heated argument. "You're not the man I married. You barely talk to me anymore." Tekena scoffed, crossing his arms. "Maybe you should stop expecting too much. Life is not a fairy tale, Belema. You wanted a husband, now you have one." Tears welled up in her eyes, but she held them back. She was no longer a child. She had endured worse before. Months later, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She named her Tamonotoye, meaning God's will. As she held a tiny daughter in her arms, she whispered a silent prayer, hoping that this child would bring her happiness, that she would rewrite the story of her life through her children. Then, the biggest shock came. One afternoon, Tekena returned home with a young boy. The child, no older than 6, looked around shyly before running inside. "Who is he?" Belema asked, confused. Tekena cleared his throat. "His name is Fubara. He is my son." Belema felt the air leave her lungs. "Your what?" "My son, Belema. From before we got married. He will be staying with us." Belema staggered back, gripping the wall for support. "He had a child all this time and never told me?" From that moment, everything changed. Fubara, though innocent, quickly became her biggest challenge. He tormented Tamonotoye, always making her cry. He refused to obey Belema, knowing his father would always take his side. Tekena, on the other hand, had new plans. "I have decided to go back to school," he announced one morning. Belema blinked in surprise. "That's great, Tek. I'm happy for you." "Yes, but I'll need your support. School fees, books, some new clothes. You know how it is." Belema's heart sank. She already ran multiple businesses just to keep the family afloat. And now, she would have to support his education, while her own dreams were pushed aside. "But Tek, what about me? What about my nursing school?" Tekena frowned. "Belema, be serious. I am the man. My education comes first. You should be proud that your husband is progressing. Her lips trembled, but she said nothing. She knew arguing was pointless. She expanded her businesses, took up extra work, and ensured that her husband had everything he needed. And even in the midst of all this, she bore 2 more children, a boy, Tima, and another girl, Ibinabo. Years passed and Belema focused on her children, Tamunotoye, Tima, and Ibinabo. They were her only source of joy. She worked hard, running her stores, selling fish, even doing small catering jobs. One afternoon, while at the market, an old woman approached her. She had a kind face, lined with age and wisdom. "My daughter," the woman said, taking Belema's hand, "you have carried too much pain, but there is a place where burdens are lifted, at the feet of Christ." Belema sighed. "Mama, I go to church. I pray." The old woman smiled knowingly. Going to church is not the same as handing your burdens to God. You still carry them yourself, don't you? Belema froze. How did this stranger see through her so easily? "Go home," the woman continued. "Read Matthew 11:28. Cry if you must, but give your pain to God. Only He can give you peace and love you seek." That night, Belema did just that. She read the scripture, and for the first time, she truly prayed. Not the rushed prayers she whispered before bed, but a deep broken cry from her soul. "God, I am tired," she sobbed. "Take this pain, take this bitterness, take this disappointment. Show me who I am beyond the suffering." And as she wept, something changed. A peace like no other filled her heart. The next morning, Belema woke up different, lighter, stronger. She stopped reacting to Tekena's outburst. Instead of arguing, she responded with calm. She stopped trying to change him and focused on becoming the best version of herself. Slowly, things began to shift. One evening, Tekena sat beside her, eyes filled with something she hadn't seen in years. Remorse. "Belema, I have been a terrible husband," he admitted. "I don't know how you have put up with me for so long, but I want to change. Will you forgive me?" Tears filled Belema's eyes, but this time they weren't tears of pain. "I forgave you a long time ago, Tek." From that moment, their home transformed. Tekena became more involved with the children. He supported Belema's business, encouraged her, and one day he did something that shocked her completely. "Belema," he said one evening, handing her an envelope, "it's time for you to chase your dream. Here is your nursing school registration." Belema gasped. "Tekena, are you serious?" "Yes, you have sacrificed enough for this family. Now it's your turn." Overcome with emotion, Belema threw her arms around him. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for finally seeing me." Though life had been cruel, Belema had found something greater than happiness. Joy. A joy that came from God, from her children, from her resilience. She had walked through fire and survived, and now she was ready to soar.